Welcome to the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce News and Views Show. I'm your host, Diane Sawyer, President and CEO of the Reidsville Chamber of Commerce. In today's edition, I have Update with the City of Reidsville, and I am so excited to welcome my new guest, first time on the show, Chief Josh Farmer. And also, you have a new role, Assistant City Manager. So let's get that whole title in there, Director of Public Safety. All three. Bam, bam, bam. I got you. Look at that. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Diane. I'm glad to be here.
I mean, let's be honest. Like, you could be out fighting fires and doing some Director of Public Safety stuff, but you're here with me this morning, and we're going to talk about all the cool stuff that you do. Because I am intrigued by that. That's some of my favorite.
Sure.
Most people know my background. I have a degree in public health. And so one of my first jobs out of college was working with the Coalition for Health and Wellness in Martinsville, Henry County. And I was a worksite wellness educator and diabetes teacher. And the City of Martinsville Fire Department was one of my first clients. And so did a whole program for the firefighters. We got a fleet of bikes. They would bicycle uptown Martinsville, because in Martinsville it's uptown, not downtown. And we would come in, and on their 24-hour shifts, we would do recipe substitutions, and we would talk about when they go out to eat, how they could eat better, because what a tough job to be on shift for 24 hours.
It can be.
It can be.
It can be,
It
for
can
sure.
be. You're away from your family, and you're all together, and you're trying to do well. So that was one of the most fun things I have ever done in my career, was work with the firefighters and try to help them be better versions of themselves so that they could be better for the community. So I love the fire department. I love what you guys do. And there's so much from a public health safety down to, batteries. Have you checked your have you checked your smoke detectors? Like, things that people don't realize that go along with all that stuff. So
there's a lot, for sure.
There is a lot. So
It
tell
is.
us all about who is Chief Farmer, and now all your extra titles. How did you get to be here? How did this happen? Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school? Tell us a little bit about who you are.
Well, again, thanks for having me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. I think a lot of people know me, but for those who don't, my name is Josh Farmer. I am the fire chief. There was some confusion when the reorganization announcement was made, but I'm not stepping away from that particular duty or title. I'm just gaining some additional responsibilities. But I was actually born and raised here in Reidsville. I'm on the younger side. I'm not as seasoned as some of our other employees, but I was fortunate to attend Reidsville High School. And at that time, I had an interest in public safety, but I didn't really know where my exact fit was going to be. So I started volunteering at the Reidsville Fire Department. Well, we don't necessarily have volunteers, but we have an Explorer program. And what that program allows for is for individuals such as high school students, middle school students, who may have an interest in public safety or the fire service career as a whole, to come right along, experience and explore the career field of firefighting, just to expose them so they can see if that's something that they're truly interested in pursuing as a career. At the time, I really didn't know if the fire service was where my heart was. I was really just looking for volunteer hours for my college resumes as I was applying as a senior in high school. But it kind of just stuck with me, and I've kind of enjoyed it and been here ever since. I went off to East Carolina and got my business administration degree with a concentration in management from ECU. I obtained an associate's of science from Guilford Technical Community College. And that focus was fire protection technology. And then back in the fall of 2023, I completed the Masters of Public Administration program with the UNC Wilmington.
I'm so jealous. MPA I wanted my MPH, and then when I started this job, I was like, I really want to do an MPA.
Yeah.
And 3 kids later, I'm tired.
It's a lot. It's a lot. It kept me busy for sure, but I learned a lot, and I was very fortunate to be able to do that prior to having a family and now a little girl. So I had a little bit more time on my hands.
You did, but I'm very excited for you, very proud of you, very proud to know you and know that you are killing it. And you are obviously doing such a great job as the chief that Summer and her realignment and restructure wanted you to be an assistant city manager. on her
thank you.
team. So
I greatly appreciate that.
congratulations
Thank you.
on all of that stuff.
Yes, ma'am.
We are so proud of you, and we are so thankful to have you, and we know that you have our backs when we need you. So
Thank you.
the fire department does so much, and we've had Durham on here. We've talked to people about how the inspections happen when it's, the annual business inspections, and making sure that we have our fire extinguishers up to date and that we've done all of our things. But there's so much from the residential side and from the business side. And so I think it was a natural fit for you to become the assistant city manager and director of public safety, because I know one of the things that we're planning to talk a little bit about today is both residential and business development and some of the things that are happening. So you were kind of already there on the fire side and kind of on the public safety side. But
yes, ma'am, they kind of go hand in hand.
They do.
They do, as far as inspections go. And with the new role over being the assistant city manager of public safety, now I oversee building inspections and the permitting department as well as engineering. So, fire inspection has always been a thing. I was a fire marshal for a number of years before being promoted to fire chief. So kind of having that experience, having the working relationships with the building inspectors, and just being exposed to different processes within inspections departments has really kind of prepared me for this next step of my career, being assigned the building inspections and permitting overseer.
You were already working with those guys so much anyways.
Right.
And, we went through that when we moved into this building. I know when you call 1065 on community development and you set up your inspections, they coordinate with you and they coordinate, with your folks and with building, and they're like, gotta have these folks on site and make sure all the things. And we could deep dive into that. We won't. We are having a really great seminar that we're working with the city on for the new Unified Development Ordinance. And that's something that I know the city's been working on for a long time. And Summer and I have been kind of casually updating folks. We've done a little bit of a deep dive into what is the UDO, but in September we are planning to have this combined event, the chamber and the city. So we will get into a little bit about, because I know that Drew is on staff there, and we've been talking to her about how explaining what a UDO is, what Reidsville's is going to look like, but also how it doesn't change state building code and some of these things that you would be on site for. This is more about Reidsville's and specific to Reidsville and their processes and how some of that, because I have come in with my, generic, how do I make people understand in layman's terms? And I was like, basically, Summer had this book that she inherited with a bunch of sticky notes. And I was like, now we're taking it all together and rewriting it as one book going online with it, where you can read it, search it, tag different sections. It's going to be phenomenal, but it doesn't change that you have to go through processes and that you have to do your due diligence when you're trying to have a business or an organization or a building and whatever it is you're doing in it. And those are the things that you guys enforce to make sure, and I'm thankful for. As somebody who's on the corner of one of the oldest blocks in Reidsville, I am thankful in the Central Business District that we are making people do what they're supposed to do, because if one of their buildings goes up and we don't get to it, I am directly affected when it comes this direction. So those firewalls and those fire doors and those fire extinguishers and the fire department and all the things we put in place are very important to me.
Very important.
So,
yes, ma'am. And I'm not as up to date on the UDO as I probably should be. But I'm trying to get caught up on some projects, right? But I do know we're probably about 85% complete on that. Summer wanted to pump the brakes and take a step back to ensure that what the city's vision and goals were actually included in that document.
That's right.
So she
and
wanted
that's
to
where I come in, because now we're holding a public event in September.
Trying to involve those external stakeholders and get some additional feedback before moving forward.
Absolutely. And as our beautiful and smart, talented city manager, as smart as she is, went to this wonderful conference in Florida and found this nonprofit who for free comes in and examines said UDO and gives feedback. And so that was it aligned right with her pumping the brakes. And she was like, oh, here's a really great resource. We're going to check this out.
That's right.
And so we've just been really thankful to have her. And I mean, she has made so many amazing changes in the city.
She has.
you and I were discussing kind of off camera before we started about how the city is such a great hybrid now of seasoned folks and folks who are a little bit younger, people who are homegrown, and then people who are from outside of Reidsville. And it just gives us this really great unified perspective on making, and people who have come and made their homes here in Reidsville, and how we make it a better place to live and raise families and do business.
That's right.
Well, now you've inherited, as you mentioned, some other responsibilities. So let's talk a little bit about, I know one of the great big things that we've been updating is this, and I always mess the word up and don't remember what it's called, but the water line and the water project on the main water. Tell me about that.
The redundant water.
Redundant.
The redundant water line project.
I always think redundant, and then I'm like, that doesn't sound right. It sounds like you're being redundant. Like what? So redundant water line, and my understanding was it is old and it predates like some things, and so we are going in and replacing it so that we don't have a Flint, Michigan. We don't have an issue where we can't provide, because I think it's 8 hours that we have as backup, like
as a safety factor, right? And that depends on usage too throughout the city. But the best way to essentially explain the redundant waterline project is currently we only have one main feed coming from our water treatment plant process, feeding the entire city of Reidsville. So if something was to happen with that one supply line, you know, the entire city would essentially be affected. So we've recognized that, noticed that, we've started the redundant waterline project, and what that's going to do is it's going to give us an additional backup water supply line. So if for some reason we have any issues with our main supply, we could convert over to the redundant line and maintain services throughout the city.
Absolutely, and then it gives that old line a break too. Like you can use the new line for a time period. Like you can do whatever you need to make repairs and to give that opportunity to.
That's right.
And the cool thing about recognizing that, one of the things that Summer and I have talked about a lot, and I don't think the general public understands, you know, there were so many opportunities post-COVID for funding, and there were so many things that were made available to everybody. But let's talk about the city of Reidsville specific. So, you know, she went after the funding, her and Chris, and they worked on all these things. And the council and the city admin team worked really hard, but they decided to use a lot of the rescue funds on things that people could see and touch and feel and understand. So, you know, our new splash pad, our new all-inclusive park, our downtown streetscape. But at the end of the day, those funds had to be committed and used on this. We're on that last cycle of all the things that had to be prepared. And so, you know, the water line and the infrastructure, she was like, we want to do those things and we needed to, but we went after other opportunities to fund those things, because we wanted people to feel and see the difference and the change. And she was like, nobody sees this infrastructure and nobody understands. And so I'm thankful that we are able to go along and do both, because that is going to be able to, the infrastructure is important for us to recruit new industry, for us to recruit, you know, to new residents, and there's a lot of that stuff coming.
Ties directly to growth and how the city plans to move forward in the future, for sure.
So tell us a little bit about that. I know, again, those are all things that are coming under your responsibility, but I know you're aware of several things. I think there's a project with Annie Penn and some infrastructure.
Yes, ma'am. So we do have several projects going on with infrastructure, particularly in the sewer division at our wastewater treatment plant facility. We have a B&R project, which is, we call it the Headworks project. The Headworks is the initial catch basin, essentially, as to where all of the sewer discharge from all businesses and residents inside of the city, it flows to. So the B&R project is going to help, not the B&R, the Headworks project is going to allow us to upgrade our facility to a more modernized process to better screen some of the stuff that shouldn't be in our sewer system, to prevent damages or failures of equipment that may be on down the line in the treatment process.
You know, it's funny when you talk about that. So my husband actually works for a chemical company that they produce the chemicals that go to water treatment plants to help clean the chemicals and the things as they're coming through and all of that process. And so having being that a part of my personal life, people don't realize that when COVID happened, like disaster struck when it came to the chemical side and how much the price shot up and how difficult, like everything got pushed down the line, and it made it increasingly difficult for cities and municipal districts to get what they needed at a price that was fair. And so that's part of what's driving up some of the cost and some of the utility rates and some of the things that we've seen. But also, Reidsville has recognized for years, and I have said that we are a leader in infrastructure and not being like some of our neighbors and not being like some of things that you see. Again, I won't call out neighbors, but I will say Flint, Michigan. We can always use that as an example. But Reidsville has been doing things. For example, this Headworks project that you're talking about, to me, it's like the next step. It's the next, and I probably missed a step or a project in between, but the spillway was not that long ago. We rebuilt the spillway, and now we have a new spillway.
That's right.
So when you talk about water treatment, when you talk about water supply, and those two different pieces, the dirty water, the clean water,
Right.
all the things, people don't realize they walk in and they expect to flip the tap on the spigot in the bathroom
And
the
it works.
water's going to come on and it
Right.
works. And they don't understand that 365, like 7 days a week, 365 a year, like there are people working in those plants.
That's exactly
making
right.
that stuff happen. And the money and the infrastructure that it takes. And Reidsville does such an amazing job of managing our budgets and the things and the fluctuations. We were just talking about Chris Phillips is like an institution in himself here at the city. And he helps make sure that our finance department and that each of your departments and the things that you submit your budgets and you have to say, this is what it's taken. And guys, like, we've had increases. And so here's what we're doing. And they take each one of those and put it all together. And then they look and they present to council and they say, what can we do? How can we continue to be better and not be in those situations? And
Absolutely.
there's so many of those things that are happening behind the scenes that people just don't even realize.
They have no idea. And we were very fortunate. The city was proactive in contracting with an engineering firm to come in and essentially assess our complete utility system, both water and sewer. And they've since created a capital improvements plan that has been proposed and presented to council of paths that we should take moving forward to ensure that, our system is sustainable and reliable.
I cannot imagine what it really takes from an infrastructure point. Like, you guys, that admin team, like, you have your regular meetings and then you have your additional seasonal stuff. And it's funny, I pick on summer. I know we just approved the budget, but now we're already thinking about next year's. Like, there's like a 12-month process, because now it's like, okay, we got to wrap up this. Now we're back to wrapping up this year's current budget and making sure that everything sorts out. And then they'll report on that. And then they'll sort out all the transfers and the moving everything around. And by the time they're done doing that, you're already planning next year's budget.
That's
and
right.
So it's a constant battle. And then the great resignation of COVID.
Yes, ma'am.
And what y'all are doing, staffing. Oh my goodness.
It's tough.
It is so tough. And just now in your responsibilities, now not only are you the chief and you still have all your guys and all
Yes,
your
ma'am.
stuff, but now you're over these other departments. And currently we're still contracting with the county, right, to fulfill
ma'am.
that role.
For building inspections.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because,
And we're contracting with engineering firms because we don't currently have an engineer.
right.
But I can tell you, the transition to oversee some of these other departments has been pretty smooth.
That's well, because
Because,
you're the man.
well, not necessarily me, but we are fortunate to have really good staff members
We
here.
do.
And they are essentially the backbone of keeping these departments running both effectively and efficiently, and providing quality service, to our citizens, business owners, residents, whoever they serve. So it's really made the transition a lot easier for me, just because I can rely on them to kind of keep things up to par, up to speed, and get things done. Without them, I would have major headaches.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. There are a lot of great and phenomenal staff who have kind of been in the trenches doing all of these things. So you just kind of slid over and assumed some responsibilities, and now they're getting you caught up and getting you to a place where you can make sure that all of that stuff is continuing to move forward and helping Summer transition, and taking some of that load off of her and making sure that because at the end of the day, like that stuff is busy.
It
I
is.
mean, it never stops. People don't really believe this, but like as the visitor center and kind of being the front porch for Reidsville, people come in here every day and they are visiting, they're passing through town. They stopped because it was off the highway. They're older and I mean, I could sit here and talk for an hour about, oh, they're looking at the quilt trail, they're taking pictures, or they're interested in something downtown, or they came because they have family, or they're just passing through, or somebody's having a wedding here in so many months and they wanted to come check it out ahead of time. Or, I mean, it's just crazy how all of that stuff. And then that's just the visitors. That's just the residential side. That's just like the general community. But then the businesses, they come in and they're like, hey, what are the buildings available? And hey, I'm trying to open this kind of place. What can I do? And, and so we work with you all and we're trying to help people and figure it out. Or member businesses come in and they say, hey, like this happened, or I might have messed up, or hey, the city's telling me this, but I don't understand it. And so then I jump in and I work with y'all and go, okay, like what are we trying to do? How can we help this person, and try to figure it out? So it's just a lot of stuff that, happens, and people don't realize behind the scenes all the stuff that it takes to make it happen.
It takes a lot, and we appreciate you, Diane, and the chamber as a whole, kind of being the middle person to kind of connect us with some of the citizens or potential business owners or entrepreneurs who are looking for spaces that may be hung up in the process, right? A lot of the time we don't get that feedback. So by them being able to approach you, and the partnership and relationship that the city and you all have, has helped us tremendously try to streamline the process as best as possible to get these people from start to finish and make their vision and goals come true.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and thank you for saying that. Haywood and I were just talking about, so one of our other assistant city managers, he was in this meeting that we were having, and he was like, we're still going to do all these things, and we're gonna when the UDO passes, and then it's now the new governing, document, and he was like, and then we're still going to have all the same issues and all the same stuff. And I said, well, it's funny that you say that, because there was a previous mayor who said to me one day, well, people wouldn't go out on the road and drive their cars without a license and insurance and having read the book and gotten their permit. And I was like, they do it every day.
Every day.
Every single day. I'm like, you're a law-abiding citizen, and he was very much a very educated person, and so in his mind, that's how things work, is you follow the process. And I'm like, here's the problem. When it comes to entrepreneurs, when it comes to businesses, when it comes to landlords who tell people things. And I have a friend, I don't think she would mind me telling her story. We have, well, I won't mention the whole thing, but a salon owner, and I know you're aware of this, and we have a salon owner who, she's been in business for over 20 years. She was at a business that was on Scale Street, and then she moved her business up off a freeway. And then when some things happened, she needed a new building. And so in her mind, all she had to do was call community development, call the city, turn her water on, get her new little thing, a piece of paper that says she's good. And then she found out she wasn't. And it was because her landlord told her, oh, yeah, such and such was a business here. You're absolutely good to have a salon here. And as we both know, she wasn't. Correct. And it wasn't true. And thank goodness, she's a member. She's a friend of mine. She was telling me, and I was like, I'm going to stop you. Let me make a phone call. And so I called and I was like, hey, how can I help her? Right. Like, I get that she's in the wrong, but how can I help her? Because that's my job. And not only as a friend, but she's a member, and we wanted her to be in the right. And then you were a part of that, but everybody jumped in and said, because that was a whole crew of people. They were going to lose money. They were going to lose time at work. And so I was able to help her renegotiate with her current land. Thank God we figured it out. But she stayed in her old building a little bit longer. So the girls were able to work, and it ended up, I guess we're coming up on a year anniversary of her actually moving in, because it was right around July 4th. And I said, listen, y'all aren't going to be working. Take that time, figure it out. But we worked with the city over the spring to get her where she needed to be, because she was going to be out of luck. And, that's right. Somebody else said in this meeting, people have to do their due diligence. Well, they do, but also where do they figure out how to do their due
That's
diligence?
exactly
You know,
right.
it's kind of like parenting. Like, there's not a book
To
that
read
tells you. I mean, there are plenty of books out there, but they don't tell you
step by
specifically about
step.
your child
That's
and how
exactly
your
right.
child's brain's wired and how God made them. Like, you have to
Yes,
figure
ma'am.
that out. So it's very similar. Like, and that's something that Haywood brought up. He was like, every situation's different.
It
Every
is.
business, every building. And Drew was in that meeting, and she's like, just because so and so circumstances for their business doesn't mean it'll be the same. And so you guys have to go to each and every inspection and figure out what building code,
Applies and what
what
doesn't.
applies, what doesn't, what zoning they're in.
That's right.
It's just like central business. We are our own little zone here of what's allowed, what's not
What's not.
allowed, how that works. And so people have to understand, why are they grandfathered and I'm not grandfathered?
Yes,
Why
ma'am.
why is that okay and this is not? So we're here to help. We're here to be that. You guys have done such a great job, and we're all human. We all make mistakes. We all make an
Yes, ma'am.
opinion call on things. Um, but we are doing a much better job as a whole, as a group, as the chamber, as the city, I think, on the customer service piece
Yes,
of,
ma'am.
because nobody likes to hear no.
Right.
But if your no is a yes, but, or a no, but we can try X, Y, and Z to figure it out
Yes, ma'am.
versus a I'm sorry, you can't do that.
That's right.
It makes such a difference. And I think we are light years ahead of where we used to be, in the ability to meet people on their level.
Yes, ma'am. You're exactly right. And one of my goals and visions in this new role is I don't oversee community development, but I do oversee permitting and building inspections. However, we have a very close network and relationship together, and we table a lot of situations that come in just because we have to, right? But we don't want to be. We want to be an advocate for the city. We want to be a partner for investors and developers, whether that's residential or commercial. And we won't, not saying we have been doing things wrong in the past, but we can always improve. And when leadership change, things change. And we want to hear the feedback on what the community feels we need to do that would make some processes or policies better. But I think our first take is to be a public educator. So if anybody has any questions, if they don't know where to start, if they're in the process and they're just kind of lost, we want to help them from start to finish, and we want to put everything in front of them because we don't want them to start something and then we start hitting road bumps that we can't get around. So, starting the process early, contacting the city and allowing us to be a partner with the development or the future business growth here in Reidsville is priority.
And you all want to partner so much that we have expanded our economic development team. And now we have Chase Lemons, who is meant to literally take someone by the hand and guide them as a small business through whatever step, whoever they need to speak
Yes,
to,
ma'am.
and take them to each individual within the city as in City Hall, but also city as in city of Reidsville, wherever they need to go or however they need to go to
That's
accomplish
exactly right.
those
And Chase
dreams.
has a personal touch. He is great at his job. He has a great personality. He is very approachable.
And smart fella.
And he is knowledgeable about many different aspects of public government pertaining to economic growth. So, if anybody has any questions, he would be the man. He and Montana both. Can't shortcut Montana.
Oh, absolutely
He is great
not.
at his job as well, and they have made strides forward since being employed with the city of Reidsville.
Yeah, and that team as a whole Montana, Chase, Robin, that whole team. They are phenomenal, and they are my go-to. They are who I work with hand in hand, unless I encounter a problem that I know directly. Again, those institutions, the Chris's or you or whoever that I can go to and help a business. But I'm super thankful for that. We are basically out of time, and it has flown by. But I know that we have both had some things we wanted to talk about. I know just in general, there's some new things happening. Both there's some residential growth, some business growth. Anything else you want to mention before we hop off here?
Well, the city is growing, and we're growing pretty fast. So,
So
we
we're trying to
talked
keep
about,
up.
Yeah, we talked about, expanding the infrastructure and ensuring that the city is growing to accommodate that growth and meet the demands of the growth that we're seeing. But, there are several commercial developments that are taking place right now. I'm not sure if a lot of people are aware of it or not, but I think Popeye's franchise has presented and gone through the initial site plan reviews for development here in Reidsville, so that's pretty exciting news. Farmina just had their ribbon cutting a few weeks ago, right?
And production soon, hopefully.
Production soon. They're onboarding employees, so that's really great. I think it's Joy's Always has also made a commitment to the industrial park in the old Guy and O'Neill building.
Yep, which brings us to 4 different nationalities now in the industrial park.
Yes, ma'am.
Which is
Isn't that
awesome.
amazing?
We are global.
We are.
And they're the first, just like Farmina's the first.
They are.
On American soil.
Yep. Yes, ma'am.
And they're
First
Chinese,
North American.
right? I believe.
I'm not exactly sure.
I think so.
They
I think
may
that's,
be.
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
But, we have a lot of commercial growth, but more so we're really experiencing a lot of residential growth.
Talk to us about that, because that is hard.
Well, people see projects ongoing currently. If you drive down Holiday Loop, the Weddington Place apartments are ongoing. They are vertical by far. I think that's a little over 200 residential units that will provide housing for needed families here in Reidsville. They are the Clark's Preserve project. A lot of these projects have been brought to council for rezoning and approval, but Clark's Preserve is another residential development out off of Gibbs Lake Road. The Ashcroft property that was just approved for rezoning to continue building that out. We have some other housing projects out off of Liberty Road that's getting ready to take place and go vertical. So I'd say about 2,500 homes that are getting ready to get off the ground.
Needed.
Yes, ma'am.
Because we are at capacity.
We are.
More than capacity, if we're being honest.
We are. We definitely need it.
So, and I don't think people realize you have things like Caesars, which has made a huge difference. Their first thing that they said when they were hiring employees was, we want our people to live 30 minutes or more away. I mean, that's just a precaution that they take. They want their employees away from the scene and away from, being a part of the resort. And I think any resort, but a resort with gambling, I think that just makes sense, right?
Yes,
and that is a precaution that they take to help their employees be in a different setting. And so they want them more rural, away from. So we gained people, and some of our people who already lived here gained employment there.
They did.
That was a big deal. And with these jobs that are coming, Farmina went from, it was like a little over 100 to they're approaching 200 already, to already talking about needing expansion. It is wild to me.
It's a lot going on. It really is.
And you and I, honestly, we probably could have talked for 2.5 hours about really diving into all these different things that are happening. But at the end of the day, it's a 28-minute show. And we are out of time. And I bet you didn't believe it, but it flew by. We talked about some great stuff. Congratulations to you. You are in the best time of your life. I know that you have this beautiful family.
Yes,
I know that you and your wife have both been very successful in your careers, and I think risen to places that you're both very happy. And I think maybe she took a little less responsibility and is happy, and you're taking on more, but I think it's a good fit, and I'm very excited for you. And
Thank you.
Congratulations on your new role. And I think that you make a great part of this team, and we're very thankful for you. And I'm thankful that I know we can call you anytime and say, hey, this is going on, help us out, and we'll figure it out. So.
And I greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. And it works both ways. So.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely.
Do you have anything you want to add, as we close out? Do you think we covered it all?
I don't. I think we covered it all. The biggest thing is, if we can ever help anybody, we're a partner here with the city of Reidsville. So, please reach out with any questions that you may have. And if you're experiencing any roadblocks or hiccups, we're here to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what I forgot to say? You're cross-trained too.
Yes,
you can serve as a police officer in this great city of Reidsville as well, at any time needed.
Yes,
you just one-stop shop, do it all, public safety.
Well, I'm not going to say that, but I've been blessed.
I love it though, and we're so excited. And one of the things we were talking about is, we did mention off the air, still that the PD is doing its thing, and Chief Gibson is doing his thing, and so they're still over there doing that. And you guys partner on things and work together to try to ensure that our great city is safe and protected. And
yes, ma'am. That's our number one goal.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chief, for being here.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, folks. Well, that is it for today's show. As always, you know where to find the guys in the fire department, and always you know where to find us at City Hall and find us at the chamber here in downtown Reidsville at 140 South Scale Street, and on our social channels and on reidsvillechamber.org. So stay tuned and we'll see you soon.